again to today's lesson. We are going to handle Science and Technology, Grade 6. Science and Technology, Grade 6. Under this area, we are going to discuss animals in Grade 6. Animals in Grade 6. So when we were in Grade 5, under animals, we discussed vertebrates, that is, animals with backbones. So we also discussed groups of vertebrates, examples of vertebrates, and characteristics of vertebrates. So that one we did in Grade 5. Now the same animals in Grade 6 is now covering the other group of animals that we did not discuss in Grade 6, in Grade 5, and that is invertebrates. So in this grade, we are talking about invertebrates. So invertebrates, by definition, invertebrates are animals without backbones. These are animals without backbones. Now there are a good number of these animals. It's a very big group. There are so many of them. So we will look at examples of these invertebrates and characteristics, and maybe lastly how you can differentiate between one group of invertebrates and another, because we have realized that there are some two groups here of invertebrates that are likely, or they mostly confuse the learners. So that is why we are here today, to discuss and differentiate between these two groups of invertebrates. So just by looking at the common invertebrates around, these animals without backbone. So when we talk about examples of common invertebrates, just the common invertebrates, just in general, we have animals that are called insects. Now this insect is a group of these small animals called invertebrates. So when we talk about insect, we are not talking about an animal. We are talking about group. It is a group of so many animals inside. We also have ticks as also an example of an invertebrate. We also have worms. We have spiders. We have mites. We have snails and slugs. There are so many. These animals are very many, so we can't name all of them. So these are just few examples of invertebrates that we have. Now, these invertebrates, just the way I've said before, it is a big group. There are so many animals that are found within this bracket of invertebrates, and therefore they also need to be grouped into different groups, just the same way we grouped vertebrates. Remember, vertebrates also was a very big group, and it was classified, or it was grouped into 5 main groups. So just the way vertebrates were grouped or classified, we are also going to group or classify these invertebrates according to their characteristics. So let us look at these groups. So the first group of this animal is what we call the insect. So I will name it number 1 as the first group of these invertebrates. Now, these insects are small animals that we normally interact with. In fact, they are almost all over. So it is also a big group comprising of so many animals inside. So we want to give examples of these animals that are specifically falling under the group of insects. So the first example of insect here, we will have houseflies. Houseflies. These are animals that are very common. We always interact with them. Another example of an insect is mosquitoes. Mosquitoes also falls under that group. Also a very common animal. Another example is the cockroaches. Cockroaches are very common animal, very stubborn in our houses. We also have another one, the bees. Bees is also another example of this insect. We have grasshoppers. Grasshoppers also falling under this group. We have butterflies. Butterflies. We have ants. Ants. We have termites. These are very common animals that we always interact with. Now, this is not the only list. It is a very big group with so many animals. Maybe there is one that I would like to talk about, the flea. So talk about the fleas. Now, these are examples of insect. They specifically fall under the group of insect. So they are invertebrates but falling under the group of insect. Now, this group, there is what we call characteristics of this insect. So let me write those characteristics this side. So characteristics, why are they grouped together, or what is the difference between these invertebrates and other invertebrates? So what are their characteristics? So characteristics number one, the first characteristic is that these animals have 3 body parts. So talk about they have 3 body parts. The body parts comprises of the head, the thorax, and abdomen. Head, thorax, abdomen. So these animals, their bodies are grouped into 3 parts. So we have the head, the thorax, that is the chest, and the abdomen. That is the first characteristics of these animals. So if you can come across any of these animals, especially like the cockroaches that are always all over, the ants, you can see that their body are divided into those parts. We have the head, then we have the thorax, and we have the abdomen. That's the first characteristic. Characteristic number 2 is that these animals have 3 pairs of legs. A pair means 2. So 3 pairs means they have 6 legs in total. So have 3 pairs. 3 pairs of legs. A total of 6 legs. So if you have one around or in your house, you can confirm the number of legs that these animals have. So they have 3 pairs of legs. All those legs are attached to the thorax, not the abdomen or the head. All 3 pairs of legs are attached into the abdomen, into the thorax. Another characteristics of these things is that their bodies are covered with a thick coating called exoskeleton. So they have what we call exoskeleton. Have exoskeleton. Now this exoskeleton means these animals, when they die, of course they don't have bones. When they die and you leave it there for some time, when you go back and pick it, you will realize that you will find the same animal but with nothing inside. The same animal but nothing inside. Something very light that is remaining. You find a grasshopper dead somewhere. You look at it and you will find the same grasshopper, but there's nothing inside. It is like what normally the snake do when they remove the old scale and remain with the new one. So it's something like that. It's like they remove what is inside. Is like it has dried up. So what is remaining is a very light thing. In fact, it's a very light thing that even if you blow it, it flies away. So that is what we call exoskeleton. Number next, these animals, some of them have wings. Sasa, this is where the problem is. Some of them have wings. Some of them have wings. And majority of them, by the way. If you look at the first examples that we gave, almost the first one, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, up to the sixth, all those animals have wings. They have wings, so they can fly. Though there are some of these insects that do not have wings. So we are not saying that they have wings. No, we are saying some of them have wings. So if you are stating the characteristics of insects, don't say they have wings, but say some of them have wings, because not all of them have wings. So we have wingless insects, like the ants. Though some ants also, because there are some ants with wings. We have termites. Termites, they don't have wings. We have fleas. Fleas also, they don't have wings. We have bed bugs, very stubborn animals in the houses. So bed bugs are also falling under this group. They are wingless. We also have animal like lice. Lice, also another insect, but does not have wings. So when it comes to the issue of wings, then you talk about some of them have wings. That is a characteristic. Then maybe the last characteristic here is they have a pair of antennae. Have a pair of antennae. A pair of antennae. Antennae. Those feelings, some people call them feelers. All of them have that. This group, they have a pair of antennae. That means there are two. So pair means two. Now, those are some of the examples of insects and their characteristics. Now, there's another group here that normally confuses learners, especially when it comes to giving examples. So there's a group here that are called a group of, initially we used to call it, during 844, they used to be called arachnids. So under arachnids is where we have the animals like the spider, that is where we have the spider, that is where we have the mites, that is where we have the ticks, something like that. So in 844 they used to be grouped, just the way these ones have been grouped into insects, those ones also used to be grouped as arachnids. But nowadays they have been given a group of ticks, mites and spiders. So that group is likely to confuse learner. In fact, most of the time they confuse which one is an insect and which one falls under that group of mites, ticks and spiders. So that is what we want to look at. How can they differentiate? What is the difference between the mites, ticks and spiders and this group of insects? If you look at them, they almost look the same, they look alike, they're almost the same size, but they fall under different groups, and of course they have different characteristics. So let us look at also this these groups of ticks, mites and spider. So I hope this one is understood, and of course if you always have a concern or a question or anything to ask, you can always comment on the comment section. So let me look at that other group, the second group of invertebrates, so that we know the difference. I have picked this substance specifically for these two groups because they normally confuse learners. For the period I have been in the classroom, there are certain things that I know that really disturbs learners. So one of them is this, and we will be handling most of them, some of them. Now let me talk about that second group. So we will write number 2. So nowadays it is not called arachnids. In fact, the CBCs doesn't know that word arachnids. They just know them as spiders, ticks and mites. So that is what we are going to write. Spiders, ticks and mites. So let us not give our learners, or don't disturb yourself learning so many of them. Just learn about the 3 and you are good to go, because this is what the syllabus recommends for grade 6. Now this is the group, and those are the examples of that group. So we have spiders, we have the ticks and we have the mites. So because we already have the examples of those animals, we are only going to look at their characteristics. So characteristics of this group. So we want to compare the difference. In fact, the difference comes in the characteristics. Now, the first characteristics, if we compare with the characteristics of insect, the first characteristics of insect was they have 3 body parts. Now, these ones have only 2 body parts. So the first characteristic here is that they have 2 body parts. These 2 body parts includes the head and the abdomen. So they are lacking the thorax. They don't have the thorax. So that is the first difference. And the first characteristics of this group of invertebrates. So they don't have the thorax, the chest. They only have the head and the abdomen. That is number 1. Number 2, these animals have 4 pairs of legs. When it comes to the number of legs, they have many. They have 4 pairs. The insect had 3. So that means they have a total of 8 legs. The insect had 3 pairs. That gives a total of 6. These ones have 4 pairs of legs, giving them a total of 8 legs. The third characteristic that is also different from the insect is that these ones, they don't have no wings. There's none of them that has wings. This group, all of them are wingless. So in this case, no, the issue of some have wings and some doesn't have, no. They don't have wings, all of them. The insect had a pair of antennae. This one also, they don't have it. Have no antennae. Those feelings, or the feelers, they don't have them. Now, these animals, I will encourage our candidates, the grade 6, that don't do much, especially what is not within in the textbook or in the syllabus, because I've realized that some do even read the 844 books, and therefore they have some information that has been outdated. So be current. Like in this case, you only need about 4 characteristics of these things. Don't disturb yourself with around 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are too much for a grade 6. Even if you look at the characteristics of insect, they are also very few, around 4 or 5. So don't feed yourself with so many information that are not very necessary. So remember, this is a group that are preparing for the national exam, and therefore what you are consuming in the form of education or your studies must be something that is relevant to the syllabus, because most of the examiners always use the syllabus to set an exam. So there are some, of course, there are some areas where the resources are limited. So we understand that. There are some areas where resources are limited, and therefore those learners tend to use any material they come across. So we'll advise them that as you look for those materials, or as you use those materials for your studies, you are supposed to check if really whatever you are doing is within the syllabus, so that you don't be irrelevant, and by the end of the day you are going to do the same national assessment. Now, these are 2 major groups of invertebrates that I have always found giving learners a lot of problems, especially when it comes to giving examples or these characteristics, because some of our learners read so many things. So these are the only characteristics. Have these 4. Those are just enough for you. So if you check, there are not very many. Though these are not the only groups of invertebrates. So we have other groups, like there is also a group of millipedes and centipedes. So let me also have that. Another group of invertebrates, the third group. They have also been named millipedes and centipedes. In S844, they also had a group, they also had a name. That group had a name that has not been captured in the current system. So we will just call them millipedes and centipedes. Now let us look at the difference between these two animals also. These are also two animals that are very confusing, especially those learners that are in town or urban centers where these things are not very common. So we have these two animals, I will call them group 3. So millipedes, I can remember when I was still going to school, our science teacher used to call them millipedes and centipedes. I don't know whether that is the correct, but the message was at home, you could understand. So we used to call it millipedes and centipedes. So they are millipedes and centipedes. These two animals are very difficult to differentiate, not only to the learners, even adults, because especially if you have not really interacted with them. And at the same time, these animals are not very common. They are very rare, especially the centipede. The centipede is very difficult to see because most of the time it hides under the soil or under the rocks. So seeing it is very difficult. Millipedes, sometimes you might be lucky to find it walking around sometimes, especially during rainy seasons. But this one, no. Now let us look at the difference between these two animals, so that if a learner is asked, if you are asked that what is the difference, what differences are there between millipedes and centipede, so that we don't jungle with words, or we don't just gaze. So I will give a rough idea. Where possible, I will have to draw some sketch diagrams. So I will have this side, I will have maybe a table like this. Then I will call this side millipedes and the other side for centipedes. Now, the first characteristic here of millipedes, I want to talk about their differences, how you can differentiate between these two things. Now, the first difference is these millipedes have two pairs of legs per segment. These animals they have what we call segmented bodies. Segmented bodies means bodies that have like chambers of a train. The way the train is, we call them coaches. So segmented means they are bodies that they have chambers. So for the millipedes, one segment has two pairs of legs. And if I talk about two pairs, that means 4 legs in total. So these ones, they have 2 pairs of legs per segment. This other one, the centipedes, have only 1 pair. They have 1 pair of legs per segment. That means this one only have 2 legs in one segment. These ones have 4 legs. So that's the first difference. Millipedes, so that means in terms of legs, millipedes have more legs than the centipedes. That is the first characteristics, or the first difference. In fact, I'm giving the differences. Another difference is that these millipedes have cylindrical bodies. These ones, they have a cylindrical body. So cylindrical means round, like a pipe. So their body is like a pipe cylinder. But if you look at centipedes have a flat body. These ones have a flat body that is flat like this. If you meet the two, you will realize that the millipedes is cylindrical, like this pen here, but centipede is flat. That is another difference. Another difference that you can easily see is that the millipedes, they coil when touched. They coil when touched. These other ones, they don't. These ones do not. Whether you touch them, to what extent, they will not coil. The centipedes will not coil. So the millipedes, they coil themselves like this. I can remember when we were young, those our elders used really to joke with us. When we were young, we used to be told that if you find a millipede, take it and put it in your pocket. Then tomorrow or the following day, you will find money in your pocket. So we used to put so many millipedes in our pockets, so many of them, and in fact we used to walk looking for the millipedes so that we can, because once you touch it, it will coil. Then it coils and it becomes round. You just pick it and put it in your pocket. So we used to have so many millipedes in our pockets, some dying there, and there was no single day I found even 1 shilling. So I don't know why, the meaning of that, why they used to tell us that. Maybe there was a hidden meaning. Maybe because now these things nowadays I've realized that they had a hidden meaning. So maybe because if you see a millipede, maybe that was a way of differentiating, because they are almost the same. So they used to tell us that if you find a millipede, first of all, knock the head, then it will coil. Once it coils, put it in your pocket. Because millipedes are very harmless. They are very harmless. They don't bite, they don't sting. They are very harmless, very polite animals. But these ones, these centipedes, this one is a walking dead. This one's a very dangerous animal. So I think that was also one of the ways they used to tell us that you can differentiate between a millipede and a centipede. Because if you meet a millipede and you knock it, it will not coil. It will not. And we could not pick any millipede or centipede that has not coiled. So I think maybe that was the reason, we never know. But that is what we were told. So those are there are around 3 differences. Otherwise, the common characteristics that they have in common is that they have segmented bodies. That is a characteristic of these animals. They have segmented bodies. That means their bodies have been divided. So in terms of segmented bodies, then another characteristic that is also common to both of them is that they have many legs. They have many legs. In fact, you can't count those legs. They have very many. Though millipede has more legs than centipede, but both of them have many legs. So I think those are the two. Those are around the 3 differences of these 2 animals, the millipedes and the centipedes. Then there is also another group here. Maybe the last group also that looks very, though this one it is easily differentiated. You can easily differentiate them. The snails and the slugs. The snails and the slugs also falls under invertebrates. The snails and the slugs. Let us look at maybe the characteristics or maybe the differences. But I think the difference is only one. The difference of these 2 animals. The snails have the shell. The slugs doesn't. I think that is the only difference. Otherwise, their characteristics, snails and slugs, I think that is number 4. Snails and slugs. Snails and slugs. So the first characteristic is that they have long and soft bodies. They have soft bodies, very soft and long. first characteristics of these animals. We call them soft-bodied animals. So they have soft bodies and long. These animals also have segmented bodies. They have main segment. Their bodies have also segmented bodies. Not segmented bodies. They have there's this part. Mostly these animals, like for example, if I can draw a snail, let me try if I can draw it. I don't know whether maybe that is then the shell somewhere there. The shell, then there is the head, then there is also I'm not very bad artist. I think I'm trying. So this is the shell. This is a snail. Now this snail, they have this part here. The part they are using, in fact these things move by gliding. It's called gliding. So the part they are moving with this part here is called the foot. So some people call it the stomach or the belly of the of the snail or the slug. That part is called the foot. So that's the part they are using. So their characteristic says they have a hard foot instead of legs. This part is called the foot. The part they are using to move from one point to another. A snail has 5 body parts. A snail, this one, has 5 body parts, while a slug has 4. So these 5 body parts of a snail are these. We have this part called the head. That is the first part of the snail. We also have the neck. The neck is now this one. Immediately after the head, there's the neck here. That is the neck, the second part. We also have the tail. Tail is this one, the third part of the body. And we also have the foot now, this part. Then we have the shell. This is the shell. Now these are the 5 body parts of a snail. Now the difference between now this and maybe a slug is maybe like this. Also like this. But a slug does not have the shell. That means all the remaining parts are also here. The head, the neck, the foot, and the tail. The only thing the slug is lacking is the shell. That is why the slug has 4 body parts, while the snail has 5 body parts. Another characteristic, they have both the male and the female reproductive organs. These animals are very funny. They have both male and female reproductive organs. So this animal, once mature, can reproduce, because both male and female reproductive organs, it has, same to this one. So they are very funny animals. They both have 2 pairs of tentacles. Tentacles, these things. They are those things that you always see them like this, and that is where their eyes are. They both have tentacles. So the upper tentacles act as the eyes, while the lower tentacles act as the smelling organ. So there are always 2. There is one that is long, call it the upper tentacles, and there's also another one that is a bit shorter. So that one is used for smelling, sense of smell. So I think that is the only difference, or maybe the characteristics of these 2 animals, the snails and the slugs. The last group of invertebrates that are remaining here, maybe the worms, and I'm not going to look at the characteristics of the worms. The last bit I want to talk about this invertebrate is that there's a special group of invertebrates that are called sea invertebrates. So these ones are invertebrates that live in the sea. We call them sea invertebrates. So let me name it sea invertebrates. Sea invertebrates. These sea invertebrates are invertebrates that lives in the sea. Examples is like we have the starfish. This is a sea invertebrate. We have the starfish. We have the octopus. And we have the crabs. These three, don't disturb yourself learning more of these things. Just know the three: starfish, octopus, and crabs. These ones are invertebrates. They don't have backbones, but they live in water. That's why they are referred to as sea invertebrates. So they are found mostly in the oceans. This type of animals. These ones you will not find in Lake Victoria. They can't survive in freshwater lakes. So these ones are found in the salty waters like the Indian Ocean and all that. So those are examples of sea invertebrates. Now, up to that point, if I look at the characteristics of these sea invertebrates, maybe we'll just mention a few of them. They have the following. Number one, they live in the ocean. That is number one. So these things are not found in the freshwater lake like Lake Victoria. You can't find them there. They live in the ocean. That is number one. Number two, their bodies are divided into equal pairs. Their bodies are divided into equal parts. Like if you look at the crab can open like this and can close like a book. Can open like this. So their bodies are divided into equal parts. Now the starfish and the crab have an outer skeleton called exoskeleton, the same with the insect. They also have that exoskeleton. Then the crabs have 10 legs. This animal here, the crabs, they have 10 legs. That means 5 pairs. 10 legs. And uses 4 of the legs for swimming. So 4 of the legs for swimming, the remaining 6 for walking. The crabs have pincers which are used to protection. Pincers, they are things that they look like I don't know, the scissors or what. They use it for protection. So there is no much characteristics of this because rarely can you be asked, maybe, though you never know, but you can, if you want to know more about the characteristics of these sea invertebrates, you can always maybe you can find them online, or you can refer to some of the books, because to me it's not a very major thing. What is important is to know the sea invertebrates. Once you know them, but if you are asked maybe an example of a sea invertebrate, you can easily say, then that one is enough for that. Otherwise, that is what I had for now. I will be discussing more, especially science grade 6. These are our candidates and we have a lot of passion for them. So if you have a comment, if you have anything to ask or anything to say, you can always comment. I will always get time to go through those comments. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Continue subscribing, share and like the video so that we can grow this community. Thank you for watching.